Hello, my name is Cheryl Maqueda, and I will be speaking about my study that examined digital synesthesia in heritage and second language writing during collaborative and individual digital storytelling. I will start with a brief literature review and explanation of my theoretical framework and continue with the particulars of my study, closing with possible directions for future investigations. After decades of focus on verbal communication, writing as a way to learn the second language rather than merely to exhibit learning is reemerging as an activity with value. Learners potentially clarify and solidify explicit knowledge that they may have learned in the classroom setting. The permanent written record also pushes learners to demand more of themselves regarding language form, and the extended time gives them the opportunity to meet this demand, often with the help of their explicit knowledge. Collaborative writing results in co-construction of knowledge and collective scaffolding, potentially allowing the learners access to more vocabulary, more ideas, more content, and more accuracy. Development of digital literacies have applicability outside of the classroom. Technology and Spanish, what a great combination. Multimodal composition transcends the written word, and digital storytelling incorporates more skills than reading and writing alone. It includes listening, speaking, and even culture. And according to student comments, it allows them to practice what they have learned about a language in a new and innovative way. It's fun and educational. Kress describes multimodal writers as sign makers who creatively use the resources available to them in order to deliver meaningful messages within a social frame. In society, the apparatus in the first graphic tells us without words when to stop, when to go, and when to speed up. Other examples include text on screen, as happened in the live-action version of Batman in the 60s, sound effects, music, and in the world of memes, a simple photo of a cute girl is now universally associated with my crazy ex-girlfriend. Previous studies have documented development in listening, reading, speaking, writing, multimodality, grammar, vocabulary, and identity. How does this study contribute to the literature? This study looks at choices in multimodality in digital stories composed by two different demographics: Spanish heritage language learners and second language learners of Spanish. A heritage learner is someone who grew up in a home where the language of home is not the dominant language of society, and who speaks or merely understands the heritage language, and who is to some degree bilingual in the dominant language and the heritage language, whereas second language learners learn mostly at school. For the topic today, here are the pertinent research questions from the larger study. How do writers navigate multimodality and use transformation and transduction during individual and collaborative tasks? And what characterizes the differences between heritage and second language learners? Instead of mixed pairs, I formed matched pairs with either two heritage or two second language learners. Among both groups, I found about as many proficiency levels as participants, which is common in these educational settings. I took a lot of data. I used the background questionnaire and a modified CLA test to form the pairs. Participants responded to reflexive questions at various stages during the task. I looked at the text documents and the multimodal text, and at the end, I conducted individual semi-structured interviews. To control for the established advantage of collaborative writing, the students began with the collaborative task and then did the individual task. We followed the steps outlined in Lambert 2013 for digital storytelling. For each task, they participated in pre-writing activities, wrote simple text narratives, accumulated images and sounds, participated in story circles with peers, transformed the narrative to a voiceover script which potentially contained transduction, and composed the digital story. Then they published it in class. To analyze the writer's choices of modes and to analyze their relationships within the greater text, I used in part quantitative content analysis to identify several categories of themes and patterns. I tracked the changes from the simple narratives to the voice-over scripts to the digital stories. I correlated the explanations from the reflections and the semi-structured interviews. I looked especially at the frequency and types of transduction moves using social semiotic multimodal approach by Kress. For transformation, participants needed to transform the simple narrative of 500 to 700 words to a voiceover script that only contained 250 to 300 words. One method of economy in the transformation process is transduction, in which digital composers convert some of the information in the longer narrative to a different mode: sound effects, music, images, and text on screen. Many writers used images to replace original text for reasons of economy and flow. In this passage, the student reduced her text by more than 70% by replacing the types of jobs the father had with images. She said that the images helped to take the place of some lines and words so that we could make the overall story flow. The number of transduction moves spiked from 7 in the collaborative digital stories to 50 in the individual. The second language learners only account for a total of 7 transduction moves. One student, Sophia, accounted for almost half of all transduction moves. 3 second language learners made no transduction moves at all in either task. This overall increase suggests that Spanish heritage learners benefited from task repetition in the individual composition, while the second language learners may not have increased their complexity of the second compositions because they lack the benefit of a collaborative partner. This example, Sophia reduced the text passage by 100% in the voiceover script by replacing it with images, sounds, and text on screen, which resulted in increased complexity in her digital composition. The reason transduction contributes to complexity is that the image and the sounds are additive rather than illustrative, resulting in semiotic elements that are interdependent. The integration or layering of modes during transduction results in multimodal density. The research contributions regarding multimodal composition include task repetition, allows for multiliteracy development, collaborative tasks help students gain confidence when developing multiliteracies, qualitative analyses provide examples of transformation and transduction moves, and second language learners may need more guidance in task development. The small sample size made it difficult to prove significant differences in the data. Also, in a larger group, future studies could control for the practice effect by having half the participants start with the collaborative task and half with the individual task. A lot of writing occurred outside of class, and I was unable to control for outside assistance. When I analyzed the text, I noticed a trend toward simplification in the text between the simple narrative and the voiceover scripts. The voiceover scripts contained shorter sentences and more basic vocabulary. I also noticed interesting choices for images which did not lend themselves to the story being told. Highly pixelated images, culturally inappropriate images, or images lacking obvious connections to the script. Please send me any questions and also send me links to your published articles. I promise to download them and cite them if appropriate. Thank you.